Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel this Monday. Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and myself, Peter Martin, here with you. We'll be reading out some of your messages, looking back over the weekend's Premiership results, having a look at our predictor league table, and we'll also look ahead to what's on offer this week, which is, of course, time for international football and World Cup qualifiers. That's what's on the agenda. You can hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. You can also download the app as well and post messages to us live on the show today. It's the best way to get the show at your fingertips, and you'll get all the breaking stories on PLZ Soccer. Simple as that. No Tam McManus with us today. Ruffy not feeling well. I wonder if that's because he's got a barrage of criticism and quite a few people absolutely battering him for his opinion, which we're going to come to shortly.
I never saw any of his posts, so I can imagine what must have been out there. You know, I've seen some of his posts for the past, and it does have a bit of controversy sometimes, so I'll have to wait and see what he actually said. Yeah, well, we all know that Tam Allison is yellow at the best of times, so I reckon he's just thought to himself, today is not a day for feeling well and coming and facing the music. Incidentally, quite a few people have downloaded the PLZ Soccer app, and then there's a little bit called submissions, and you can actually type in and drops right into our desk right now any points that you want to make, and that has happened with Craig Wallace, who says that's why Steve Clarke doesn't pick Porteous for Scotland, totally unreliable. Nico says, I think Tam McManus was wearing his Hibby glasses, and the reason they're all mentioning that was because, of course, the weekend's game was Rangers 2, Hibernian 1. The champions staying at the top, grinding out the result, albeit against 10 men. Was it a red card? Yes, for me, yeah. I thought it was reckless. I thought it was dangerous. He never caught the boy. Fortunately, he never caught the boy, because I think if he had caught him, it might have been a serious one. And he has got a wee bit of pass for Rangers. I think it was at Easter Road. He had a lunge at somebody, and obviously, I don't think he carried it on to yesterday. It was just a situation in the game where he thought he had to make the tackle. But for me, no, it was very dangerous. And fortunately, he never caught anybody, because we could be talking about something even worse than that, you know, to the Rangers players. So I thought it spoiled the game. I thought we were going to be in for a right good game after Hibs scored, and I think it just killed the game a wee bit, you know, and fell into Rangers' lap. They get sent off.
Yeah, Alison, was it a red card?
I have to say, my first impression was it wasn't a red card. I thought he won the ball. I think when you see it from different angles, and when you see the speed of the tackle, which we've spoken about, I think you can see why it was given. But I would agree with Ruffy in terms of it just tipping the balance of the game. I think given the length of time that was still to play, I thought it made it almost impossible for Hibs to think they were going to come away with a result with 10 men.
Yeah, well, I wish Tam was here, because it's the perfect type of show. He is feeling poorly, but it's the perfect type of show where we could leather him, Ruffy, because I thought it was a red card all day long. I think that there's two elements to this. One is Hibs had scored, were in a good position with 11 men on the park, and you're saying to yourself, now we've got a game in our hands here. But as soon as he puts his studs through in the follow-through, and now I'm not quite sure what the boys' mentality is with this one, because he didn't need to do that, and he's got history for it as well, Ruffy. I don't know if he's pandering to some of the Hibs element who want to see him go in there and start crunching a few Rangers players, but it doesn't win any awards, because quite simply, in the long term, you get a perfect opportunity to build yourself a career out of being a good defender, knowing when to go in, when to time it perfectly, and when you need to screw the head to make sure that your team gets a result. And I thought he let his teammates down.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I'm sure the boy himself, in reflection, would look the way the game was going, and as I say, Hibs were winning. There's every chance that they got something out of that game, the way they were playing. So he has let everybody down, but he's let himself down as well. And Tam was on the show last week. We were talking about the Scotland game coming up, and they were saying, oh, he should be in the squad. You know, the form he's playing. And I wouldn't disagree with that. He has been in good form. But these are the kind of things that Stevie Clarke will look at, you know, when he is picking somebody or needs to pick a centre-half. And these are the things that will let him down. So he really needs to tidy his act up a wee bit, because we all know he's a good player, and he could be international standard, but no, we're making these kind of challenges.
Yeah, this is what Steven Gerrard, the Rangers manager, had to say on the incident. It's a wild tackle. It's a leg-breaking tackle if he catches him. I don't know why there's any reason that he wants to go in with that intent. It's the second time he's done it against us. The kid is obviously not learning, and he has let his manager and his teammates down. There's no defending a tackle like that. The speed of it, the height of it, and the force doesn't belong on a football pitch. And I can't argue with anything that Steven Gerrard has to say there, because had it connected, it could have been a sore one for the player, Joe Aribo. As far as Jack Ross is concerned, this was his take on the overall challenge. I don't even think it was a foul, but that was from my view. From the angle behind the goal, it doesn't look great. What I don't understand is the match official's view must be the same. He's not watching it from behind the goals. Ryan gives him a decision to make. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand why it's given. The overall aspect of the game is that people were looking and saying, okay, Hibs, good start to the season, let's see what you're made of. Are you really a team that can go to Glasgow, anywhere in Glasgow, and get that result against Rangers or Celtic? Well, they took the lead, Alison, with a really good move, and they looked positive, looked as if they had the belief that the manager was talking about.
I think they did, but I think going to 10 men so early was always going to make it extraordinarily difficult. It was a difficult task to begin with, I think, to go and try and come away with a positive result. But I think when you're playing with a numerical disadvantage for so long, there's a growing inevitability that you tire, particularly against a team like Rangers or Celtic on their own turf, where you know they're going to be fairly relentless at coming at you and looking for openings and searching for any vulnerabilities. As the game goes on and you tire, when you're playing with a man down, I think it becomes easier for teams to exploit the space that brings. So I think they shot themselves in the foot yesterday. I think if you can keep 11 men on, I think it might have been a different game.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know, Rangers may have prevailed regardless, but I think certainly you would have looked at a more even contest, and it would have given a fairer reflection. As it is, you're looking at it and there was an imbalance in the game, and it's difficult then to properly assess it.
Hugh has posted a message on our YouTube channel, just basically saying, Peter, that sums Porteous up. He has previous with tackles like that. Seems like he just doesn't learn because it costs his team yet again, and I think that's the key to it all. It's all right to pandering to a certain section of the fans, and they're going, great, off, in rough with the challenges, let's take a few out. But the overall point for the team is, as soon as he goes off that park, Ruffy, they're thinking, this is going to be constantly running and trying to shuttle from one end to the other constantly. Yeah. And in the end, Rangers' quality of crossing, finished the game in their favour. Yeah,
you're going from plan A to plan B so early in the game, and okay, you plan for that, but it just means you go into a defensive situation. You can't go forward as often as you want with 11 men, and as Alison said, as the game went on, they got further and further back, and then you get to a stage where you go, right, everybody back, and let's just see if they can break us down. Let's see if we can just get our bodies in the road. Let's see if the goalkeeper can make 2 or 3 good saves, and that's the way it was going for a wee while. I mean, there was deflections and they were bouncing all over the place, but Rangers got the first goal at the right time with enough time to get the second one, and once the first one goes in, Hibs will be saying to themselves, okay, we're not going to win this, let's not lose it. So they got further behind, and they try to just sit in and sit in and sit in.
What about the quality of Barisic's crosses?
Yeah, the crosses were great. The crosses were superb. And as you say, it was chance after chance. And I think at one stage, I think Hibs would be saying, we're going to get away with this.
Yeah.
And then the quality cross comes in. He gets behind, the defender. I can't remember who the defender was, but they shouldn't have allowed that to happen. Morelos to get the header. It was just backs to the wall, and it never worked. And at the end, the reaction, for me, the Rangers manager after the game, I was never seen him like that before. Charging about the park. Have you hardly seen that? I was astounded. We've seen lots of managers like that, who charge about the park, but it seemed to mean so much to him. It seemed to be, everybody's saying, oh, you know this, you know that, and then all of a sudden they beat, and it was a release that I hadn't seen that often, really. Because they haven't had to do it that often. They've been so good.
I think there are a number of teams this season, amazingly, a number of teams this season who might look and say to themselves, there's certainly teams that look at Celtic and think they're there for the taking. But you're getting a feeling, after the international break, Hearts are going to play Rangers. So there's this moment where they're maybe saying, well, we're going to have a go. I like Dundee United's attitude last week against Celtic. Come, play football, see if we can take them out. Hibs did the same, positive start. In the end, Porteous, shoots his team in the foot. But I think there are teams that will cause them problems, and I can understand where Steven Gerrard's coming from. He's lost a few players. Some people have made the accusation that they haven't been firing in all cylinders, which slightly irked them. But well, absolutely. But the fact is, nobody's. That's the observation. They're not playing as well as they did last season. That's the facts. He has to look at that and say to himself, well, if we're not playing well, we're top of the table. Can't wait till they move into second and third gear.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the numerical aspect, I think they're only a point shy of where they were last season too, but I do think performances maybe just haven't been as convincing. I don't think it's been as fluent as what it was a year ago, but no one's really been able to capitalise on that and take advantage, particularly Celtic. I think it's been a very stuttering month for Celtic coming back off the last international break, but I would take the point that I don't think they have played to the same level at times that they did last season. And I think right now, when you look at the confidence that the teams like Hearts and Hibs have gained from the start that they've made, I think you would look at it and say, well, we've nothing to lose to go and try and match and try and play a game. And if we're picked off and we lose the game, then so be it. But is it not better to lose a game, be trying to have a go and play football and give a fairly positive account of yourself than it is to lose a game in the 85th minute playing 10 men behind the ball?
Yeah, I'll tell you what he will be happy as a Rangers manager about, Ruffy, is the fact that it's an international break. Maybe some of the players will get a chance who are not on international duty to just recuperate, and then he'll just have his hands closely clasped, thinking to himself, please don't come back from international duty with injuries.
Yeah, I think that would be the case at both the big sides. When the international break comes, I'll be wondering how many people will be in the dressing room, because there's that many of them play international football. Yeah. And as a manager, you will worry if your big players come back injured, and it's a setback for you. But they'll be hoping, that sometimes when you go away with international duty, if you're with a country and you get a really, really good result, you come back buoyant, you come back,
You're on a high.
right, when's the next game? And that's what we'll be hoping as well.
What was it like for you coming back buoyant, Ruffy?
I was good. I had 20 games, only lost one in my first 20 games with Scotland.
Is that right?
Yeah.
20 victories?
Yeah. No losses. No losses.
No, just no losses. Okay, brilliant. Okay, I didn't know that, Ruffy. I'm going to talk to you about one of your games that you come back with a bonus, which is Scotland against Israel. We'll be speaking to Andrew Shiney shortly as well. Andrew will be giving us his take on the events up at Aberdeen. Here's how that Rangers result fitted into the weekend's Premiership results. Dundee United 1, Ross County 0, Hearts 2-0 and comfortable against Motherwell in the end. Livingston lost by a single goal to St Mirren. St Johnstone with a 3-1 win over Dundee. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2, and that Rangers result 2-1 against Hibs. Give us your view on that. We'll try and read out as many of your messages as possible, and I'm reading out some of the messages coming in off our PLZ Soccer app as well. So Rangers, top of the league. What about the other match that involved Celtic and Aberdeen up at Pittodrie? We're all looking forward to it. Was it going to match up to all the hype? I think Celtic started well in the first half, Alison, but second half, Aberdeen made a battle of it.
Yep, I would agree with that. I thought when Celtic scored first, I thought they would maybe go on and establish a more commanding lead. Second period, I didn't see where the goal was coming from once Aberdeen had equalised. I thought in actual fact it was Aberdeen who looked the most likely to go on and find a second goal. I think Celtic still exude this aura of fragility. I think you can still sense the vulnerability within the team and the lack of belief and an inability almost to cope in moments of adversity when they lose a goal about how they come back. So I think they'll take the victory in more than one front. They'll take the victory for the points and also for what it may do psychologically. Yeah,
well, they've cut the gap on Hibs, who are in third place, to just 2 points. They're still sitting sixth, to be perfectly honest with you. But when you look at the game itself, I think Ange Postecoglou was well happy with the fact that despite Aberdeen's fight back, Celtic got their first away win of the season.
Everyone's well aware of our struggles away from home, which go into last year, and I think even the manner in which we did it today, we had to show tremendous character to get ourselves back in front after they equalised. They threw everything at us to get the equaliser, but I think the players, they were searching for the winner. They weren't going to settle for a point, and super pleased with the players that they got the rewards.
Yeah, one thing I've got to say to you, Ruffy, I mean, the boy Kyogo, if the ball's in the 6-yard area, you're always waiting for him to be there because he sniffs about just waiting for scraps or creating something by running off the last defender's shoulder. He runs into great channels where he causes so much hassle. But I thought his chested goal was just top drawer.
Yeah, it was a sort of a thing like Ronaldo would do. That's and the way he peeled off to do it. And in the first half as well, he's getting to the stage now that unfortunately for the rest of the players, he's making runs that they're not wired into.
Yeah.
And you can see it's annoying him now. That
no number 10.
You can see that he's peeling off and he's waiting on it coming in, and whoever's got the ball doesn't see the run that he's making, and it fizzes out. But it's fantastic movement. And you can see the difference, when he's in the team, when he wasn't in the team, at least they're creating chances. But as Alison said, they're still powder puff at the back. It's Joe Hart again, made a couple of saves, not great saves, but saves that the other Celtic goalkeepers had been making. They would be hitting the back of the net, but that's the way it is. And you're right, they were just happy to get away from there. I thought Scott Brown was going to score with that header. Oh my God, what's he going to do if that hits the back of the net? That would be interesting. But no, I thought just get the points. It was one of the ones to get the road. But I've said this in the show 2 or 3 times. It's good that these teams, Aberdeen and Hibs and Hearts, are getting Rangers and Celtic a wee fright. Yeah. I think it makes the whole league, it makes our football look a lot better than Rangers and Celtic being 26 points ahead of everybody by December. Yeah. So I think, that's what will make it exciting. And I hope they do continue to do that.
They need to take a few scalps, though, along the way. Yeah. I mean, let's not forget, I hate to be, the prophet of doom on it, but let's not forget that with Celtic and Rangers, all of these clubs over 10 to 15 years have been a massive disappointment, Alison, in the European stage. So as they're getting better now domestically, we need an Aberdeen or a Hibs or a Hearts to go through to Glasgow, and produce the results that suddenly, as Ruffy says, makes it interesting.
Yeah, consistency is key, isn't it? It's not just about even going and getting one big result against Celtic or Rangers. It's about being able to match over the course of a campaign. But I think you can see how difficult that is when you look at the financial resources available to the top 2 and then everyone else, because it's post-Christmas where it really starts to eat into the squad. If you have injuries and suspensions and you're trying to patch players up and put together a run of form. So I do have some sympathy. I can understand why it plays out the way it does. I think you need a bit of luck too. I think sometimes you just need the rub of the green, and to go back to that game at Ibrox yesterday, you also need the experience or key players just to be able to cope with the intensity of that kind of environment too.
Yeah, no wins in 9 now for Aberdeen, but Stephen Glass reckons the Dons are getting there.
People want to say they're sick of hearing the same message. I'm sick of dishing out the same message. So it's important that we learn quick. We know we've got Dundee coming up in a couple of weeks, and we know what it means, and we need to start getting points on the board pretty quick. I think you can see a group of players that believe in what they're doing, a group of players that are not a million miles from where they need to be, if they can negate the issues defensively as individuals.
Yeah, well, that's his thoughts on it. He is beginning to sound like a broken record on it. I think he just wants the performances to be backed up with the goals and the wins. But I wonder what the Aberdeen fans think of all this. Our man up in the northeast, Andrew Shiney, was watching the game with our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi. He joins us now. Andrew, are you more heartened by what you witnessed at Pittodrie at the weekend?
Not hugely, Peter, I'm afraid, because it's got to the stage where you've got to get results. Performances are okay. It wasn't a great game of football yesterday, to be honest. It was 2 sides that lacked confidence, I thought. Celtic are in pretty much the same boat as Aberdeen, a bit of a work in progress, but the difference was they ground out the result. They went south with the 3 points. Aberdeen, for whatever positives you can take from the game, picked up nothing.
Yeah, well, what are the positives then?
Well, they were a wee bit better in an attacking sense. second half in particular, towards the end of the first half, they almost sort of took a shake to themselves and thought, you know what, this Celtic team isn't cutting us open. Let's have a right go at them and see what we can do. Because for the first 40 minutes of the game, it was very easy for Celtic. Although they didn't have any shots in goal other than the goal that Furuhashi scored. And, you know, it took that long for Aberdeen to kind of waken up. But then a couple of good runs by Austin Samuels in the second half, a shot that flew just over the bar, and it kind of energised Aberdeen a bit. They got the equaliser, a bit fortuitous because it came off Lewis Ferguson's shoulder. But again, poor defending from Celtic, near beaten far too easily in the jump with Ferguson. And from then on, you've really felt that Aberdeen were the side that were going to win the game without creating anything clear-cut. They had a couple of balls flashed across the face of goal. Johnny Hayes had a shot that Joe Hart did well to parry away. But, you know, you could see the nervousness in the Celtic defence. There was a number of times when balls came into the box and Joe Hart was all over the place. But I think Cameron Carter-Vickers stood out for me at the back. He won all his headers. Starfelt, not too sure about him, but Aberdeen didn't have the cutting edge. And then, of course, Tom Rogic, who's been the nemesis for Aberdeen many, many times down the years, comes on, picks a pass that goes on the wrong side of Calvin Ramsey, and then when Adam Montgomery plays the ball across, Jack McKenzie's on the wrong side of Jota, and the ball's in the back of the net. And for the second time in a row at Pittodrie, it's a late winner for the opposition. But there was good heart from the team. They don't give up, there's no question of that. They do miss the flair, the initiative that Ryan Hedges brings, because at the moment there's not a lot of invention about Aberdeen's play. Yeah. But we're now going into a game against Dundee that is absolutely must win, because you look at the league table, Aberdeen sit in 9th place. There's a gap starting to develop between the top 6 and the bottom 6. And if they don't start picking up victories in the next few weeks, they risk being cut adrift at the bottom end of the table. And that's not where Stephen Glass, or Dave Cormack for that matter, wants to see Aberdeen.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make there. I mean, you're talking about Dundee as a must-win. They've got Hibs, Rangers, and Hearts on the horizon in that run as well, Andrew. So it's not going to be easy for them. And I think they'll not be buying into as I'm sounding like a broken record. It's coming. They'll be wanting those results, as you've mentioned on this programme, time and time again. Just one little footnote. We talk constantly about fan behaviour at games. It's something that we don't like to see. I noticed a 13-year-old boy was charged with throwing a plastic bottle at Celtic players. It's the last thing Dave Cormack wants to see up there. We always talk about you're a product of your parents, your environment, how to behave. I don't think he'll be watching Aberdeen in the near future, Andrew.
He certainly shouldn't, because there's no place in football for that type of behaviour. I mean, a plastic bottle one week, it could be a full glass bottle the next, or a coin. It could do serious injury to a player. Now, that was from the Red Shed, which is the now home of the real die-hard Aberdeen fans. And if you are such a person, you do not want to see your club besmirched by this sort of behaviour. So I hope that they've been self-policing, and that the information that led to the arrest of this 13-year-old came from within the group that's in that part of the stadium. No part whatsoever for that in the game, Peter, and I hope that the book is thrown at him.
Yeah, absolutely. Here. Listen, Andrew, always great to chat to you. The good news is I've had a look here. 3, 6, 9. You've only got probably 11. You've only got 11 more games, Andrew, until the PLZ Soccer Christmas party. And by that time, I think Ruffy and I might need to buy a crate of wine for you. Can you handle 11 more games?
the way things are going, I would be a little bit wary. But hey, you know what? Football is such a fickle business that you could see Aberdeen go down to Dens Park, where they've got a great record, win that game, and all of a sudden the monkey's lifted off their back. The monkey is now the size of a huge gorilla, to be perfectly honest. But you know, if they can break the shackles of this bad run, who's to say that they can't beat Hibs, who they've got a good record against? Who's to say they can't beat Rangers? I can think of a lot of people that will say they won't beat Rangers at Ibrox. But, you know, it's 3 games that everybody at Pittodrie is going to know they've got to be at their very best to get anything out of. And it could just be the spur to kick them forward. I hope it doesn't need something like that. Stephen Glass is quite happy with the effort that he's seeing from his team. But if he can translate that effort into results, then maybe come Christmas time, I may have a smile, a genuine smile on my face.
Yeah. Brilliant, Andrew.
It's only
always
maybe.
Great to chat to you. We hope you have a smile on your face by December. To be fair, Ruffy, you're such a character at the Christmas parties, you won't really care whether Andrew's got a smile or not. You'll still be drinking the wine.
No, but we don't want anybody coming down and spoiling the night out. So you better start cheering up.
Absolutely. Listen, great to speak to Andrew Shiney, our man in the northeast, just to get a sense of Aberdeen. It's got to turn quick, Alison.
Well, 9 games without a win. I'm not sure that anyone gets too much time when it keeps going on like that. I think he badly needs a result. And
do you think the hype has increased the pressure? Because at the start, as Andrew had mentioned time and time again, they started well and everybody's thought, oof, Aberdeen this season.
Definitely, I think so. When you're bringing in a number of new players, and one of whom was Scott Brown, I think big things expected. It was such a surprise move for him to go there after Celtic. I think when they started well, you're anticipating bigger things, but I think now we're talking about Celtic winning ugly. I think that goes for any team when they're up against it. It's just about getting out the bit when you're there before it becomes a habit. I think you need to find a win, and from there you take the bounce from it.
Yeah, Hearts, the Jambos, they're going well, Ruffy. I mean, I wonder if Tam just hasn't turned up today because he shouted his mouth off about the Hibbies, and the Jambos are doing well. 2-0 against Motherwell.
Yeah, great start to the game, 30 minutes, and I thought they got a goalkeeper made a wee bit of a mess of the penalty. I think
Why does he go, Ruffy? Why does he go for Liam Boyce when he's absolutely going nowhere?
I know. It's just he's committed himself and he's just caught in 2 minds, and strikers now are wise to goalkeepers being about their legs. You know, they've got a habit of, making sure that if the goalkeeper's in the area, I'm hitting you and I'm getting a penalty. So that's the one, you've got to watch. And he'll hold his hands up. But they were very, very good. I thought Mackay was magnificent. He played a ball through that Scott Allen has been doing at Hibs. And he's added a new dimension to them as well. And again, Craig Gordon, I mean, 2 of the 3 saves he made were just magnificent, and my Motherwell will be scratching her head going, God, could we get something out of that at the end, but it never happened. And they're on a run, and with that support behind them, home and away, tough to say who's going to beat them.
See, that's the good thing about it. I mean, Liam Boyce has scored 10. They're unbeaten in 8 in the league. They're going really well, and when Hearts start to motor, they have a good travelling support with them as well.
Indeed, they've got a good support all round. I think going back to Tynecastle, I think it's one of the most atmospheric grounds in the country. I think you always get a good atmosphere. They take a good travelling support, but I think you can't underestimate what a good start to a campaign gives you. I think it just builds momentum, builds belief. I don't know that anyone would really have anticipated Hearts coming up and starting the way that they did. I thought it was a fairly indifferent campaign last year, but I think Barry Mackay's been huge. I think Craig Gordon, again, you're week in, week out, you're looking at some of the performances and saves and thinking, again, like why Celtic let him go when they did, when he still clearly has so much ability and still has the capabilities of playing at international and top level football.
I still think there's a story to be told. There's a story to be told. I just cannot help being a cynical journalist on it, Ali. There's something there. You cannot let a goalkeeper of his stature offer him a pittance of a new contract. somebody's made a decision for some other reason. There must be. You can't let it. When you're looking at the goalkeepers that they had at their disposal, you don't get rid of someone of his stature.
I think it's baffling. I think it's a baffling decision, and I think it becomes more of a head scratcher when you see how he has performed subsequently. When he left, there has been no drop off in fitness, no drop off in ability. That he's continued to perform at a high level. I think when you see what Celtic lacked in that area last term, not just in saves and in a commanding goalkeeper, but also just in terms of leadership and what he would have brought. I think it's a decision that as time goes by will become a bigger issue, I think, than what it is now. I think when you look back in maybe years to come, you'll be thinking it's such an odd call to have made.
Yeah, well, the other point that I'm looking at now, Roffy, is suddenly the Jambos have got to go to Ibrox, and Robbie Nielsen thinks they're in fine fettle to go there and maybe get the win.
You know, we're sitting in a high just now. There's going to be a low. You know, with 8 games in, we're going to lose a game. You know, we just want it to be no next week or no the week after. Can we go to Glasgow and win? You know, and that's the next challenge for us. So we've got that 2 weeks' time. It's going to be tough. You know, but we go, no matter what happens tomorrow, we go to Ibrox close to them.
Go to Ibrox and win and go top of the league. We've witnessed many a Hearts side before. The only thing I would say, Ruffy, is of the hype that's followed, you know, certain Hearts teams, he's just gone about his business quietly. There hasn't been a lot out with the Jambos. There hasn't been a lot of real hype surrounding Hearts. I mean, people were actually starting the season, and I hold my hands up, and I thought if he'd lost 1 or 2 games, the Hearts fans were going to call for his head. Well, but he's been magnificent.
They have been magnificent, and in all fairness to him, there were a few people out there calling for his head, and there's a few people making the almighty backtracks now. One person in particular, who I won't mention, who is now squirming every time his name's mentioned, because he was adamant he was going to last 3 or 4 games, but no, good luck to him. I think Robbie's a nice guy. You know, he goes about his job well. Can they go to Ibrox and win? Of course they can. Will they? I don't think so.
No, don't think they've got enough in the tank.
You've got Craig Gordon there. I think you're good enough to get a draw to come away if everything goes well for you. I just think Rangers at home with the support behind them, you know, are still very, very difficult to beat at home.
Yeah, fair play to the Hearts fans. I mean, listen, I'm very complimentary towards them for so many things that they've done, especially the commitment to the club. But on the 48th minute of the match, they held a minute's applause in honour of Paul Chambers, who was a Hearts fan who sadly passed away. And Paul was the brother of Andrew Chambers, who worked with us at PLZ Soccer. And it was a tremendously sad moment, a young man taken way too early. And, you know, it's always nice when Hearts fans or any fans just remember someone who's been an absolute diehard, and they all applauded Paul Chambers. So our, again, condolences and best wishes go to Paul's family and his friends as well. Good touch by the Jambos as far as Motherwell are concerned. Graham Alexander didn't think Hearts deserved 2 penalties.
I'm sure every manager will have his own little agenda that it's always against his team, but certainly, you know, I think we've had, 16 penalties against the club in the last 12 or 14 months, which is a little bit high. So I think if it's managed right and it gives the officials the support that they might need in some situations, then I think it could be a benefit to Scottish football.
Yeah, I always get worried when a manager, Alison, says we've had 16 penalties against us in the last 12 months. Now, what does that tell you? That tells me that some PR guy has whispered in his ear. And there's a lot of that going on at the moment. PR guys whispering in the manager's ears a load of baloney. I mean, honestly, 16 penalties. Talk about getting a chip on your shoulder. Has he got reason to complain?
I'm sure he feels as though that he's justified in complaining. I didn't think he had too much to complain about, to be honest, at the weekend. I thought Motherwell, I don't think they've done enough to win it on Saturday. I thought Craig Gordon had a couple of really good saves in particular, but I just think they lacked belief going through to Tynecastle.
They could have gone top.
They could have gone top. I just didn't think they looked as though they had any conviction about their performance at times.
Yeah. Okay. What did you think about it? Hearts fans, can you go to Ibrox and win? Rangers fans, can they come through to Glasgow and show that they are in the mix at the top end of the table? Are we going to get a third force? Who is the third force? Give us your thoughts. St Johnstone 3, Dundee 1. What Dundee are the bottom force. I'm getting worried. I think they need to get Charlie back pronto.
Yeah, they need somebody to control the game. They just seems to be a hit and a miss now. They're all over the place. They're looking for somebody to do something special, and unfortunately, that person isn't stepping up to the plate. And the goals they lost at the weekend. No credit to St Johnstone. I thought they were good. I like the boy Kane. I don't know what it is. He's not a big time player, but he gives you 100%, and he's always there or thereabouts. And I just thought he was outstanding. What about Halloran?
Yeah.
We thought he was gone.
Well, do you know what he is?
He's back now. And
he's a player who wants to be loved, Ruffy. He is like Tony Watt. He's been searching for a place to feel comfortable at home, and he needs a manager to put his arm around him and say, "Bye, you're a good player." Do you not think so?
And he's got it. He's got the pace. He's got the ability. He's very good crosser of the ball. Somebody that a fullback wouldn't want to come up against with that kind of pace, and he's delivering. And as you say, he's now playing games. He's playing every week. And that can only help him.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, he scored a couple of goals. And again, when you talk about players who just need to find their feet and feel wanted, Stevie May's scoring goals on a regular basis, and he's back at a club that I think he belongs there.
I think that's so important for any player. I think you'll never play your best football if you're inhibited or if you're tense. I think you need to be relaxed. I think you need to feel as though you have the trust of your colleagues, of your teammates, of the support of your manager. I think if you have that foundation, there's a freedom then in going to express yourself and going to play.
Yeah, James McPake not happy with the defending. He says the goals they lost were ridiculous.
I thought they were soft, a couple of them across the face of the goal. The centre half and the goalkeeper didn't do themselves justice at all. But don't take anything away from St Johnstone. I thought they were better all around. They could have scored more as well, and James will begin to worry a wee bit now because obviously his best player isn't there, to help him out. So they're just like Aberdeen. They just need a win, and he'll be looking at the fixture list on the wall, going, "Who is it? Who are we going to get the 3 points off us?" So
by the time they get to the international break and beyond that, Griffiths could be banned.
Well,
so suddenly you've got Charlie in there, and they've got the same problem they had before the season started. They haven't got goal scorers. I look at them and I think Dundee, Livingston and Ross County now look like those three clubs who are going to be battling it out, and it didn't work out for Livingston at the weekend. They lost to St Mirren.
I thought they might have managed to get a point. I thought they might have taken something from the game. I think St Mirren probably deserved it overall, but it's been a tough start for Livingston too. I think on the back of last season, I think you might have anticipated a bit more, but it's been a struggle so far. Yeah,
Dundee United defeated Ross County by a single goal as well. Ross County, again, there's something in this statement that came out from Ross County, which, again, I think it highlights the problem sometimes in Scottish football. Apart from anything else, it's understanding and waiting till you get to know all the facts. And the classic example was last week when we had a couple of people who, jump in, not just in social media, but just jump in general and don't listen in full context to either the story, listen to what people are saying on it. I am waiting to see what punishment, if at all, UEFA would possibly hand out to Sparta Prague for fans booing. I cannot see them handing out a fine for fans booing. I think the intent is very difficult to prove, but that was in the context of it's still wrong why they were booing Glenn Kamara. Again, what we get is a heap of people all jumping in who cannot see the whole context of it. And this one here is a classic example, Alison. People complaining about what they thought was racist chants towards Yando Fuchs. Now, you don't want to see that, but Ross County have released a statement regarding this whole affair and what had happened. I know Malky Mackay was getting a lot of criticism too. We were alerted to a complaint made by Jander Fuchs in relation to alleged racist language being used from the area housing our fans after the opening goal. Stewards were extremely close to the area where the chant had come from and confirmed that no racist language had been used. The gesture from Dundee United manager Thomas Coates to our fans didn't reflect responsible handling of the matter, given representatives of both clubs came to the conclusion no racist language had been used and it could have incited risk to our fans leaving the stadium. We understand this is a hugely important social issue and we will continue to support the fight against racism, but in order to best do we so need to always ensure that there is accurate, clear and unquestionable evidence and facts to support racism. And I do think it's very difficult nowadays when a story comes up to wait and find out all the facts and not jump in.
I think it was a very difficult situation. Clearly the player felt as though he had heard something. He went over to report it to the fourth official, and I think maybe the best thing to do there is to wait and see what the official report is that comes back. Taking the shirt over and parading it to the Ross County fans, I can understand the emotion of the moment, trying to defend his player and the anger that he would have felt on the back of it. But I think in circumstances like these, I think it is very important to draw a breath and hang fire till you wait and hear what the full facts of the situation are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the case with these situations, certainly the inflammatory ones in Scottish football and beyond. It's not just our nation that suffers from it, with certain individuals who jump the gun. And we'll wait to see what comes of that. But I know Roy McGregor will not tolerate any misbehaviour of any sort that tarnishes the club's name, as chairman and chief executives up and down the country take action.
Yeah, I have to say I'm pleased with every club. If it ever happens in the stand, they stand up and be counted, and they punish whenever they can punish. And every club to a man has done that. You know, Hearts in particular, and Budge has shown the lead. You know, that if anybody does anything in their ground, she's going to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think all the other clubs are taking a lead from that, and that's a positive thing about it.
Yeah, and as I did mention, which is, and I'm going to emphasise this by reading out a few of the messages, although we do get a constant feed on YouTube, the people who've downloaded the PLZ Soccer app get all the latest breaking stories, and there's a little section called Submissions, which when you push it, you can actually go live in the show and tell us what you're thinking. And Arbon, who has posted, I can understand you mentioning Craig Gordon and Barry Mackay and also Liam Boyce, but Hearts midfield of Beningimi and Devlin are just brilliant just now, and Rangers will ignore them and the team spirit at Gorgie at their peril, says Robert Bond. So Robert, thank you for that message. Lots of people posting those messages. Hearts are glad they played Thistle 30 times to get match fit, you know, because I don't know if you're aware of that. You know how they had the little kind of a meeting together on the WhatsApp and everything. They've been playing each other because they were hard done to last season. Anyway, apart from anything else, lots of people posting messages, and one here it says the referee helps Rangers again with an offside goal again. I'm not quite sure that's the case, Mr. King. And elsewhere in the messages, Porteous was stupid. I think Stephen Gerrard was on the pitch fist bumping, as we haven't been playing well, but grinded out a result, not being able to field regular team with injuries because of COVID as well. So interesting stuff. Okay, here's how the Premiership table looks, Ruffy. Nobody's detached. It's early days. We're only at 8 games for everyone. We're getting close to that first quarter of games being played. But how would you assess top end and bottom end?
Oh, I'm pleased with Hibs and Hearts, and obviously I think Motherwell are the surprise package with what we saw at the beginning of the season. They've strung some results together, but as far as the ones at the bottom, if they are playing each other when the fixture list comes up, then they need to win them, because somebody down there is going to get derailed for everybody else, and once that happens, it's very difficult to dig yourself out of it.
And who do you think that's going to be, Ruffy?
At this moment, I think Dundee.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to be Livingston. I think Dundee are either going to make a managerial change, which I hope they don't. I hope they stick by James and give him the chance, and hopefully they get some players on the park. But I can see Livingston. What about yourself, Ali?
I think for me it's between Dundee and Livingston too. Having seen all three of those teams at the bottom, I think those are the two I would pick out. I think both have real issues when it comes to scoring and conceding goals. I think neither have an out-and-out goal scorer or someone that you can look to put the ball in the back of the net. I think Lee Griffiths was obviously going up to Dundee to try and address that situation, waiting to see what his availability will be after decisions are made from the disciplinary committee. But I think there was also significant question marks over his fitness to begin with anyway, given the lack of football he's played over the last 3 seasons. I'm not sure he was ever going to really be the solution.
Yeah, just on that, I don't know who you picked to win the league at the start of the season. I picked Rangers. Who did you pick?
I think I picked Rangers too.
Yeah, who did you go for?
I think we all picked Rangers because of the state that Celtic were in. I don't know if anybody changes their mind.
Well, can anyone stop them, Ruffy? Can you see anybody putting a dent in it, out with people suggesting Celtic?
The way they're playing just now, and they are still winning, before I contradict myself here, I think there's a vulnerability there, but the other teams have to step up to the plate to take in out of it. That's the only way, because they are, as Alison said at the beginning, they're not at the peak that they were at. I'm sure they will get back somewhere near when the Kents and all that come back, but the way that the Hibs and Hearts and that are playing, they would expect them to take points off them. I don't think it'll be a runaway, the way it was last year.
Here's how to get people angry. It's Gabriel Antoniazzi's Team of the Week.
Jack Alnwick made 6 saves to deliver a clean sheet at Livingston to secure St Mirren's victory. Nathan Patterson put in an inch-perfect cross for Kemal Roof's goal. He's pushing to be first-choice right-back at Rangers. Conor McCarthy was solid at the back for the Buddies and stepped out with the ball to start attacks as well. Adam Montgomery has been dropped in at the deep end, but the 19-year-old slid the perfect pass across to Jota for Celtic's winner. Michael O'Halloran thrived out wide and created 2 of St Johnstone's goals. Cameron Devlin was man of the match for the Jambos in the middle of the park in just his second appearance. Benning Banning was his midfield partner, and he was industrious as ever as the Jambos cruised to a 2-0 win. Ian Harkes is in the form of his life right now, and he set up the only goal, although he put a few more on a plate too. Ilmari Niskanen scored the only goal for United, and his movement was excellent all game. He could have had another. Chris Kane scored twice for the Saints and was up to his usual disruptive tactics to great effect. Stevie May scored 1 and assisted another. He's hit top form again this campaign for the Saints.
I would only swap the goalkeeper. I think Craig Gordon did enough for me.
Yeah.
To make important saves at the right time.
I think Gabs is getting calls. I'm not suggesting he's getting a bung, Ali, but there are calls being made, I'm almost certain. I don't know.
I think Calvin Ramsey may have done enough to be in there, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a good talking point. It gets people absolutely raging. And quite a few people posting messages on our app as well. Get VAR in Scottish football. The referees will be found out. No, they'll be helped. In my view, Ruffy, I still think VAR would not have saved Ryan Porteous.
No, I don't think so. I thought VAR was brought in, to get the big decisions right. That's just a decision the referee's got to make, and you have to go along with it. I'm happy with VAR that we don't seem to be having the old, heel 2 centimetres here or a wee bit of an elbow. Or let's judge it as it is. We all want to see goals. We don't want to see goals getting taken off because of a millimetre or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
a toe being offside.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. What about the predictor head-to-head? It's one of the most hotly contested competitions. The loser takes everybody else out for a meal. Gabriel is suddenly fighting back, and he's fighting back against Mr. Spineless himself, Tam McManus, who can't even show up to back his own opinions, Ali. Only 5 points between them, and then Hugh is closing in on Ruffy. Ruffy, actually, I think you'll be happy, Ruffy, because you're moving up the table.
Yeah, as I said to you before, a couple of weeks ago when I had nothing, you have to keep your head down and believe in your ability. And, I was fortunate. The Rangers 2-1 and the Celtic 2-1 pulled me out a wee hole there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I look to the second and the first place in the whole table, Ali, I just view you as Kevin Keegan. That's all I'm looking at. I'm thinking she's up there and she's thinking she's going to win this thing, but I'm just slowly but surely I'm going to do a Manchester United on you, drag you in, and then slowly pass you by.
I don't think I had a good weekend, but I still extended my lead by a point, so I have not yet hit top form. So if you wish to criticise, you can come along and watch my tutorial sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, Ali. So Ali is Ruffy. I never thought I'd say this. Ali is the Rangers of the. She hasn't yet hit top form. She's not Newcastle. She's Rangers. Acting down like a lead balloon, isn't it?
Gabriel is the Stephen Glass and Malky Mackay of the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'd love to have been a fly in the wall in the dugout in Alloa when Barry sets everybody out. Barry sets everybody out, tells them what the game plan is, and then Mohamed Nyang is sent off after 25 seconds.
That's our young boy with that Partick Thistle.
Well, you need to have a long, hard look at yourselves.
Lovely big boy, and everybody's... When something like that happens, the immediate thing you say, that boy's not like that. He's not got that in his makeup. And I saw the video of it. He generally went for the ball. Unfortunately, the boy ended up in the track, halfway up the stand.
Shea Logan of all people. And Barry's side went on to lose the game 3-1 to Cove Rangers, which, listen, they could have lost the game under normal circumstances anyway to Cove.
But when you're playing 90 minutes with a man down, you're up against it before the game's even underway, really.
Yeah, absolutely. The red card, not quite the quickest in history. That belongs to a goalkeeper, Sheffield Wednesday's Kevin Pressman, who was sent off after 13 seconds against Wolves in 2000. Well, if you're sent off after 13 seconds, Ruffy, here's what happens. Somebody takes the centre, and then the striker rushes up towards the goal, and you launch it towards them, and there's a mistake, and the keeper decides to take the striker out. That's the only thing I can think of that summed that up after 13 seconds. 13 seconds is a nightmare, isn't it?
It is that. That happened to me in my very early career, playing Ayr United. You won't remember this centre forward called Dixie Ingram. You might remember him.
No.
He was just a big hard. And for 45 minutes, I was only 18 at the time, and he battered me all over the park, elbows in the face and everything. And so we came in at half time, and obviously the experienced players always try to give me a bit of wisdom. Look, sort him out. The first chance you get, just sort them out. So, back of the mind, sort them out. They took the centre, the big pump ball was coming towards me, and all I was thinking about was sort them out. So, I came out to punch, and I got him right in the eye. Punched him right in the eye. It was just at the edge of the box. I mean, there wasn't any yellow cards or anything like that, and he's lying on the ground, and I'm looking at him going, that's me sorted you. Everybody started shouting at me. I'm going, what are you talking about? You told me to sort him out. And he went, have you noticed where the ball is? The back of the net.
It's worth taking a punch for, Ruffy. I'll tell you, talking about back of the net, Ali, Mohamed Salah's goal was just the stuff of beauty.
It's just so graceful. I think if you like football, that's probably why. It's just one of those moments, it's just an affirmation.
See when he scored the goal was good and it all happened that quick, but there was a bit just before the goal when there was 2 or 3 players come in. He actually flicked it up and dragged it back.
Yeah.
The goal itself was good, but that wee bit of skill was just unbelievable.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, it is absolutely brilliant. I mean, a lot of people, I'm looking at it, Ruffy, I'm getting mightily close. People are putting pressure on me. I've given Gabriel my all-time dream 11 for Liverpool. Salah's not in it at the moment, but he's pushing hard, isn't he? I mean, he's certainly the way the goals that he scores and the amount he's scoring as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a bit special.
Is he better than Keegan?
I've
got Rush, Dalglish and Keegan. And I think Keegan was a Ballon d'Or winner twice. I think Keegan was a special player. Yeah. But I wonder if Mo Salah's, is he pushing?
Yeah, but Mo Salah's not really a centre forward, is he? He does his stuff all out wide, he comes in. He's not a target man.
With all due respect, Ruffy, he's not getting in the midfield when I've got Gerrard, Souness and John Barnes. No. I mean, he's beast.
No, he's a quality player, and the goals he scored are magnificent. But so was De Bruyne. De Bruyne is goal was magnificent.
Yeah, it was a joy to watch. The only problem is, listen, if we all get irate up here for certain challenges, James Milner's the luckiest guy on earth.
I thought he was very, very lucky, and that's where you do have VAR in games. I was surprised.
Yeah, I was amazed actually. I was also amazed that the manager of Manchester United had Ronaldo on the bench. I don't think you need to give a 36-year-old machine who scores goals for fun any rest on the bench, Ruffy. Pick him.
Yeah, I thought we were under the illusion that Messi and the likes of Ronaldo told the manager when he wanted rested or when to take him off during the game. I don't think they kind of managers have the authority to decide what these two players are doing, but I'd love to have seen the chat when he told them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, but you know, I think picking other players in front of him left me gobsmacked. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he believes in all the players.
I believe in these players. I believe in the coaching staff. I believe that we have something going. The proof's in the pudding. We need results, and you have to turn up. We can't say, okay, we did well against City, Tottenham last year. We need to do it. We need to do it during the 90 minutes, whoever plays, and that's the challenge. Because every game in the Premier League and the Champions League is a big game against a good team.
Well, if he believes in his players, fine and dandy, but I'd have the best players on the pitch as often as I could, especially Ronaldo. Alison, it's a strange situation, but some of the world's best players were in losing sides at the weekend. I mean, Ronald Koeman's under real pressure at Barcelona, lost to Atletico Madrid, with Suarez scoring for Atletico. I mean, that would have been sweet. He was gobsmacked that they let him go. So they're under pressure. Real Madrid lost 2-1 to Espanyol, and would you believe it, Paris Saint-Germain also lost at the weekend, and they had Neymar, Messi and Mbappe up front.
PSG's an interesting one. I sometimes wonder about just getting the balance right when you have so many players like that in one dressing room, about keeping everyone happy. You saw Messi being subbed a few weeks ago and clearly irked at being taken off, and I think there's a danger that you can have too many big egos in one team.
Yeah. Did you have egos? Did you have somebody who had a big ego in your team, but he could back it up?
At Partick, no, not really. not even at Hibs. I don't even remember anybody at Hibs. You know, it was just guys were all in it to help each other. I don't think anybody stroll about. Oh, well, Best came, he had a wee bit of an ego, but we sorted him out.
Yeah, sure you did, Ruffy, sure you did. Even Bayern Munich suffered their first home defeat in 30 games when they lost to Eintracht Frankfurt. It's such an unusual situation. I mean, I wonder what odds you would have got if you were picking, you know, Real Madrid to lose, Barcelona to lose, Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich in the same weekend. 500,
something like that.
1,000.
I think it highlights just how difficult it can be when you're fighting on two fronts, when you have a domestic and European pronged attack on your campaign, and you need the recovery process from playing Champions League and Europa League games and then going straight back into domestic games. I think if you're ever likely to drop points, it's in the aftermath of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we love talking about football. This week we're going to be talking international football as well. Undoubtedly tomorrow the debates, the arguments over Ryan Porteous will continue, no doubt. We're going to see if we can come up with some good prizes this week to give away as well, Ruffy. And all the way through to Christmas, we've got some fantastic prizes to give away. So it's good. You can watch, you can talk about the football, you can download the app, you can contribute and give us your thoughts. As many people have done on our YouTube channel as well, and I want to thank so many people as I look at the YouTube channel and see so many people just mentioning on there, not only enjoying the show, but giving us their thoughts on some of the players, how they're playing, how their team's performing, and so thanks to everyone for contributing in that fashion this week. We will continue to talk football. All we're asking you to do is hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and then hit the bell and you'll get notifications when we've got not only the live programme 4 o'clock Monday to Friday, but also as well we've got unique video content, lots of other features coming up very shortly for you to watch. And if you download the app, you get all the latest breaking stories. Before we go, Ali, Scotland against Israel is on the horizon. We won't speak to you till next Monday. So are you filled with optimism?
I think so. I think performances have been decent. I think it's a fairly strong squad. I think maybe Scotland and Israel are sick of the sight of one another. I think they've played so often. I don't think there's a huge amount between the two teams, but I think Scotland will win it.
Yeah, Ruffy played against Israel as well in a World Cup qualifier in 1981, Alison. 1981, were you at primary school or secondary school?
I hadn't even started primary.
Yeah.
I'd just been primary one.
Just primary one, Ruffy. Does that not make you
Old. I am old.
1981, do you
I am
remember
old.
that? Do you remember that? Now,
Yes.
don't get morbid on me.
No, and Alison doesn't know this, but Hugh MacDonald has done a lovely piece for the
Snail.
Scotland programme for the Israel game, so it'll be interesting to see that when it comes out.
Yeah.
Hugh's done that for the programme.
And Hugh has got a wonderful way of just glossing it with a great insight into the great man. Do you remember that game against Israel?
Yeah, I do.
won.
Yeah, and as I told you, I remembered, and I'll never forget it, at the start of the game, we were standing at the national anthems, and there had been a big sandstorm somewhere, and it started raining, and where we were standing there, it was sand that came out the sky in the rain, and everybody was covered in sand. It was just scary.
Wow.
You know.
There you are. I can't
You've
wait.
just blown his line.
I know, you just
Oh, he's done now.
Oh yeah, I know that's exactly what I was thinking. Hugh was looking for everybody to go, wow, what a great story, and Ruffy's just
Before we
kiboshed.
go, can I thank, as you know, this is our 50th year of Partick Thistle. We had a big moment at the weekend. We had Dave McParland, who was our manager, who's obviously no longer with us.
Yes.
And the club have put a painting of an actual painting of Davy. As you know, you come up to Firhill and
It's a mural.
A mural.
Yes.
On the wall, and it's so lifelike, it's unbelievable. And his 3 daughters came along, and we took photographs and we unveiled it and everything. And that road up to the back of the stand is now called McParland Way.
Well, it's a great
It's
touch, actually.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw the picture and I thought it was
so
fantastic.
lifelike. Yeah.
And I think a lot of Jags fans will want to get the photograph taken there, Ali.
Oh, without doubt. And it's a nice touch from the club too. I think it's a lovely thing to do.
Especially with the daughters there as well. That was fantastic. Well done, Ruffy. Nice to mention that. I always like to mention positive things, people that you pay tribute to, who've contributed to the rich tapestry of Scottish football. None better than Davy McParland and Ruffy and his cohorts, who defeated Celtic by 4-1 in the League Cup final of 1971. And interestingly enough, I managed to get Alec Ray, the Partick Thistle captain, alongside Ruffy, and we've got a special programme on that coming up on the 23rd of October. Celtic defeating Partick Thistle, and Alec and Ruffy share the memories and more than a few laughs as well. And the two of them look in great nick. Ruffy, but wait till you see Alec as well. Not to be missed. Thanks to Alison and to Ruffy, and from myself, Peter Martin, especially to you. Don't forget to subscribe to PLZ Soccer and download the app if you can as well in the App Store and in Google Play. Thanks for watching.